chaplain bring forward the prayer box, please. You're welcome.
The prayer box stays in the back most of the time, because that's where we leave it for everybody to put in their prayer requests. We bring it up here once a week to celebrate the prayers that we have put in here, prayers that we have thought about. Let's just make it as anything that has to do with prayers from this group, and maybe some that don't. After that, the prayer box will go to, or not the box, but the prayers in the prayer box will go to Silent Unity to be prayed at all over with somebody from Silent Unity for a month. So we hold these prayers up now. We ask for the awareness that God is with us, and all those that put a prayer in the prayer box, those that are being prayed for in those prayers, and that God is always present with them and us. So be it.
Thank you, Cliff. Julie will now come forward and read the daily word. Thank you, my dear.
As I walk through a garden blooming with spring flowers, I delight in the symphony of colors and fragrances. When I pause and look more closely, I see that no two blossoms are identical. I appreciate both the exquisite beauty of the garden and the unique contribution that each blossom offers. In the beautiful diversity of colors, shapes, and fragrances, I experience the beauty of God. As I grow in spiritual awareness, I recognize that the human family, even more magnificent than a spring garden, reflects the beauty and the glory of God. Each racial, culture, and spiritual group within the human family adds richness to the human experience. Each person expresses the beauty of God in a unique way. Isn't that the truth?
Yes.
Thank you, dear.
Thank you very much, Shirley.
And thank you.
Let us all prepare ourselves to say the sacred Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. Amen.
And now let us together move a little deeper. As we relax and move to that still and silent place within. Breathing in deeply that divine love. And as we breathe out, softly and fully, letting go with gratitude. And as we hear the music, as it passes by and through, let us picture that divine light of love passing through and touching each cell of our body with that healing life, that regenerating life force that is divine, that we share with one another and we share with Source. And as it touches each cell of our body, let us just feel that energy, renewing that cell, renewing each cell, and knowing that we are right where we are meant to be in this moment, and all is in divine order. In this moment, feel secure in your seat, your feet on the ground. Feel that security of this place, knowing that there is nowhere and no when that we are without Spirit. Spirit is always with us. Spirit is always within us. We move a little closer. We move a little deeper into that silence. experiencing that oneness. I am that I am. In the silence. And now, from that stillness within, let us just feel grateful. Not for anything, not for anyone. Just a general experience of gratitude. It is a love. And I am so grateful for each of you. I am so grateful for this time together. And in gratitude, we say thank you. And so it is. Amen. It is a wonderful day in my consciousness. It is a beautiful day in my consciousness. And I hope it is in yours too. And if it's not, change your mind. It is your choice. So the talk this morning is going to be on self-help. I was listening to a lecture that Ed Rabel gave at one of his sermon talks. And he related a story about a woman who had come to his church in Alberta, Canada to visit. And it was her first time being at a Unity church. And one of the volunteers there was taking her and showing her the place. And he overheard a conversation between these two ladies. And the visitor asked the volunteer, to briefly explain what it is that Unity is about. And she says, well, it's sort of self-help. God helps those who help themselves. And Ed, talked about how he didn't interrupt at that moment. He didn't go there. But he just hesitated for a minute, because this was a person who was just new to Unity, and then for them to hear that, well, Unity is about self-help, and God helps those who help themselves. He was just slightly taken aback. God helps those who help themselves. That's not even in the Bible. That's a Benjamin Franklin quote. It was in Poor Richard's Almanac. And it has its origins even before Ben. Ben just it was almost said in the same words in Aesop's Fables. So it's an old sort of wisdom teaching that comes out of our culture. But no, God helps those who help themselves is not a foundational teaching of unity. But yet there is some truth in that statement. But it's all in how you see those words. So it's interesting. How do we help ourselves? How is it that we can help ourselves? Let's just completely leave God out of the picture for a minute. Because if God helps those who help themselves, that means we have to help ourselves first. So how can we help ourselves? We can do the things that we need to provide ourselves with food and shelter. We can obey the traffic laws, because that's helping ourselves not to get into a wreck. We can get an insurance policy to help ourselves. So when trouble comes, we've got a little something to fall back on. We can decide we're going to eat healthier. We're going to exercise. That's something we can do for ourselves. If we're hurt, we can go to the hospital. If we don't feel good, we can go to a psychiatrist. Those are some things we can do to help ourselves. We might even get ourselves a gun and start taking target practice. Now, how much help is the self really capable of without God? Those things that we talked about, they're just little helps. They're in the biggest picture of our survival, they really are small things. But it's sort of a paradox, because God really does help those who help themselves. When we take those initiatives, when we take action, we make choices, God becomes involved. Now let's not forget who God is. We're not talking about a man on a cloud or some superhuman. We're talking about the Christ within. So when we help ourselves, that, depending on how we define self, that could be my ego self, or my spiritual self, or the Christ within, that self can certainly help us. There's 2 books that really deal with this that Unity's published. Both of them are written by women. How about that? Dana Gatlin wrote God is the Answer, and Myrtle Fillmore, How to Let God Help You. How to Let God Help You. Both of these books deal with going into that intuitive sense of knowing that we have within us, to know the limit of how much we can do for ourselves. What is it that my ego can do? And when is it time to say, whoa, I need to let go and let God do the rest? When do I let go and let God? Don't ask God to guide your footsteps if you're not willing to move your feet. We can't just sit here and pray all the time and do nothing else. At a certain point, Spirit is going to talk to you, is going to give you an indication of what it is yours to do from that still, quiet place. And then it is up to us to follow through and take that action. All right, so there really isn't a big difference between self-help and God's help. Because all help is really one help. Because we're all really one. There is no separate dean from God. That's an illusion of living in a flesh body. We are truly all one, and so all help is truly self-help. It comes from spiritual principle. It never fails. It always is. We don't have to beg and plead. We affirm the truth, and that puts our mind in alignment with divine mind, and good manifests. It can take many forms, but that what we call ourself is the receiver of the good, not the source of the good. There's only one power and one source, and that's God. Let's say you wanted greater wisdom. If you didn't have God in your life and you knew nothing about what Unity teaches, how would you find that wisdom? Would you go buy a book? How are you going to get wisdom from a book? You might get more knowledge. You might find more facts. Would you go to a guru? What's that guru going to teach you? Without God, without Spirit, are you really going to find wisdom? The same thing with love. Why don't you just whip me up a batch of love? How am I going to do that? And what would it taste like? If I didn't have Spirit in that love, really, would it be worth eating? Would it be worth sharing? Healing. How are we going to heal ourselves? By ourselves? No. The key is that I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Self is not the source. That source is the Christ within that strengthens me. So is there really such a thing as self-help? Is it just all an illusion? If we go too far with that self-help, we become arrogant. Blind egotism. But if we look at what the Serenity Prayer says, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Now, doesn't that really summarize what I've been saying about self-help? That if I receive this guidance from Spirit, I can get the courage. I can take that courage and I can get it done. But if it's something that I have no control over, then I let go and I let God. From that peaceful, still place, I fearlessly rely on God. The frog. Alright, so what is the very limit of what I can do with myself? From Dean. There's basically two things. I get to choose where I place my attention. I get to choose what I believe. That's what Dean can do. That's the most powerful things that I can do as an individual. Is I get to choose where to put my attention, and I get to choose what I'm going to believe. I can put my attention on the problem, and I can get more problems. Or I can put my attention on God, and it's amazing at how the problems just either go away or lose their importance. If I believe that it's all on me, then think about the pain that I'm going to get in my back, because it's all on me. Oh, and it's weighing me down. I've got so many monkeys on my back I can barely walk. Or I can choose to believe that I can fearlessly rely on God, and then all the monkeys are gone. I'm free again. So what do we want to put our attention in? What do we want to put our belief in? We want to put those things on God and truth. How do I do that? I've got a recipe for you. It's not the same as cooking up that batch of love either. But it's even easier. Emmett Fox wrote a little essay called The Golden Key. And that is the recipe. It's really easy to remember. Stop thinking about the difficulty. Whatever it is, think about God instead. Stop thinking about the difficulty. Move your attention. Move your attention to God. Now, it works if you work it. It works if you work it. It works if you work it. If all I do is think about it, if all I do is read about it, if all I do is hear Dean speak about it on Sunday morning, it's not going to do a thing. But if I put it to use, if I practice that, if I do my best, I don't have to be perfect, but I have to do my best. It's going to work. And it's going to start working right away. But I have to put it to use. Now I'm going to surprise Barry and Amy because I've got a song that's not on the bulletin and I want to do for y'all. It's totally inspired by that. So if you would, David, just leave that up there for a minute.
Okay.
It's called The Golden Key. And it came to me because I wanted a way to remember that recipe so I could put it to use in my life. That it would come into my mind when I needed it the most. And what other way, what's a better way than having a song? Because you know how songs can get stuck in your head. And I thought, well, what a better thing to get stuck in your head than the Golden Key. So, it's really pretty simple. Stop thinking about the difficulty, whatever it is. I think about God instead. Stop thinking about the difficulty, whatever it is. I think about truth instead. Stop perfect peace of truth. And I'm a child of truth. I'm filled and surrounded by the perfect peace of love. I'm a child of love. I'm filled and surrounded by the perfect peace of God. And I'm a child of God. Stop thinking about the difficulty, whatever it is, and think about God instead. Thank you so much. See, it's still kind of early. I'm not sure what the words mean myself. Just let go and let that feeling take over. You know, it's just one of those types of words that they're sort of, I'm going to say ambiguous, because I just don't know exactly what it is they say, but I like the way it makes me feel. It was a bad time in my life, and I really needed something to pull me up and pull me out of that lower place that I was in, and that's where this song comes out of. So, I won't even tell you the name of it. Maybe you can guess that. It is in the bulletin, though.
Oh, yeah. Let's give away.
Beside the heart, in stillness, breath fear. Oh, no.
Amen.